Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast. Today, the Dumpster Boy is back for the first time in over a month. We are together to talk about video games. And boy, there is a lot to discuss this week because Nintendo announced a bunch of new stuff at their Nintendo Direct last week. So much, in fact, I'm going to want to pull over the car in a little bit for a little discussion about the sheer number of video games coming out this year. We're going to get into it, but first, we got some catching up to do because this is the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Your boy Patty and the Dumpster Boy are together on screen. Welcome back to the podcast, Cayman. I mean, I feel like I don't even know who you are anymore. How are you, brother?
Dude, I'm telling you, man, shit is crazy. Patrick,
Crazy.
While you were gone, Patrick, I bought a house.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did. And you're currently in that house right now, in the basement of that house.
So, yes. So basically, if you're watching this live, this is the new studio. This is my new office. This is where the magic will presumably happen eventually. It is not ready yet. So we've got a long road ahead of us before I get this thing fully operational. But we're getting there eventually.
We're getting there. Maybe. But I mean, here's the thing: you say you're not prepared. You got internet, you got a mic, and you got a camera. That's enough for me.
You know what else I got, brother?
Come on, what you got?
Not only do I have one, not only do I have two, I got 3 beers on lineup, brother.
Not one, not two, 3 beers. I have in this, if you're watching video now or later, I got this cute little cap glass. Looks just like this looks just like a nice tall drink of water. It's not water. It's about this much alcohol and about that much soda water. So we're talking like 75-25.
Yeah. So Patrick, that's how I make my drinks. I do. I make them way too strong. Not because I don't think for any purpose other than the fact that I don't know how to make drinks anymore.
Sure.
Used to be a bartender, Patrick.
Oh.
And I used to can make a cocktail. Now it's just like, all right, well, here's my whiskey. And it's not going to stop until it's down my gullet.
Yes. It seems to be working for you just fine, if I do say so myself. Cayman, we have a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live so you can be part of the conversation. Cayman.
Yes.
It's been more than a month since you've been on Spotlight Games. It's been a little less than a month since an episode of Save Trash Center of the podcast. We haven't talked about this off air or on because, we've been gone.
Yeah.
Do we have a timeline for Save Trash? Is there anything that we want to talk about in front of the folks today, or do we want to just catch up in the world of video games today?
So timeline wise, so look, I'm going to be completely honest with you here. Between the move and then just a bunch of life events, I had to put Save Trash Cinema on pause. It is just a small, brief pause.
Just a brief breeze in the wind.
Yeah, we'll be back. I think timeline wise, my goal is to have an episode not next Tuesday after.
Okay.
I think after 4th of July, once the world kind of settles down after the holiday,
yeah.
I think we'll be in a better place. Hopefully at that point, I'll also be able to unpack my movies, which makes it very difficult to pull some of those gems out if they're all in boxes, which, Patrick, can I tell you, do you know how many boxes, Patrick?
I'm going to guess 27.
Oh, wow. Okay. You really went above there.
I'm going to guess. I'm going to edit my guess. I'm going to say 11.
17.
Okay. Right in the middle, in fact.
Right in the middle. Yeah. So 17 boxes of movies.
That's a lot of boxes.
Yeah, dude. You're telling me. That was like pretty much all the boxes we have from the apartment were spent just on my movie collection.
Can I suggest something? Maybe a fun little idea for Save Trash Cinema.
Please.
What if, and unless it's one that we've already done, I say you open up a box at random, first one you pull out, first movie we're doing back.
You know what? I can't wait for the first movie we pull out of that box to be Passion of the Christ.
I mean, if it is, it is. If it is, then the spirit of Mel Gibson wanted us to do the Passion of the Christ because he is dead. So
Yeah. Also, Jim Caviezel. If he's not dead, his career is sure as hell is, brother.
it sure is. You know, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have happened, and in a little over a month, Cayman. You've been busy. I've been busy. I know I've been playing some games though. Have you had time for some video games? And if so, what have you been playing?
Patrick, I have indeed. I say I have indeed. I didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't have the ability to play video games for like a solid week. Because apparently my modem wasn't strong enough to be able to support having a PS5 connected at any given point.
I mean,
We got it
you never know.
fixed. We got it fixed. You know what that means, getting it fixed, though, Patrick?
Mm.
I've been playing Diablo 4.
Ooh.
And I got some good news and I got some bad news.
Let's start with the bad.
Okay, bad news. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but the Barbarian is arguably the worst class
Okay.
in Diablo.
Sure.
Absolutely the worst class.
Absolute dog shit.
It functions, the class itself functions so shoddily.
Uh-huh.
Because like the concept in Diablo 1, 2, 3, right? Whole thing with barbarians, like the barbarian-esque class, is to be a tank. You need to be frontline tank. The problem is there's not a good build to be able to be a frontline tank. And the thing is your mana, which for the barbarians called Fury, and they're called different things for each of the characters, but essentially it's your mana, right?
Yeah.
For you to regain mana, you have to constantly be physically attacking.
Sure.
But the thing is, if you can't be a tank, you're just pretty much shit. Like you just get fucked up constantly. So I am at the end of the game. I am at this point the end of the game.
Yeah.
I'm storming the gates of hell right now, Patrick.
Sure. Which, you know, everyone wants to do at some point, but you're there now.
I am there real time right now. And I am just like, I'm going to have to go turn the world tier down. And even then, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, like, my build is so shit. Like,
Sounds
I don't know
like
if I'll
maybe
be able...
you need a necromancer to help you out.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So here's the thing, the goods and bads of Diablo. One, I think Diablo is the best of its class in terms of like this type of game. Like,
sure.
The Diablo style game is the Diablo game. Everyone, it's Diablo, right? Everyone knows it. We had a whole generation of shit. We even had a Fantastic Four game. I don't know if you remember this. We had a Fantastic Four movie tie-in game.
Oh yeah,
on PlayStation and Xbox. That was like a mimic of like Diablo. Like that was the thing, right? Like this is like, so of course it is the gold bar, and Diablo 4 is honestly, to me personally, the best of all of them. It just sucks because the Barbarian is such a trash character, and I've put so much time into him. He's already he's already 50 plus Paragon 6, I think. And dude, I just can't
seem to turn the corner.
I've hit like this boss that's like one of the mini bosses leading up to the big final boss. And I literally can't get past this boss because it's the way that the boss is designed. I can't do enough damage. Like I always get it with like a sliver of health, and then at that point I'm already out of all my shit. I'm dead. And I'm like, so, but the thing is we got a little bit of time right before the move and right after you got back from Japan, I think.
Yeah, it had been a couple days after I gotten back,
and we got some time, and we didn't get to play a ton. But honestly, Diablo is so much fun with friends. Like the experience with friends is like perfect. So like Diablo is still great. I'm just a little bummed out that I feel like they really need to like anti-nerf the Barbarian on what is a boost. I guess being to boost the Barbarian class, because like what I'm hearing is the Necromancer is so OP that like you can just fucking run havoc on shit.
See, I'd like to think that it's not the Necromancer that's OP; it's that I'm just a god at Diablo 4.
A god.
But here's a question for you, Cayman. And you know, I'm new to Diablo. I did play 3, but like I didn't play it that seriously. Mm-hmm. Have you considered turning to the old internet to maybe get some Barbarian builds? Have you done any like internet builds of Barbarian, or are you just going on what your gut tells you?
So I always do it like this. I always start going with my gut, right? I go with my gut and kind of build out what I think feels good. Mm-hmm. And then I go from there. My problem is I'm in a point in the game where I don't really necessarily know how to like rebuild my character. You can respec, like that's not the problem. It's just that I've started to cater my armor to a certain build that is not
Sure.
functional. And the way that I play Diablo is I sell anything or I break down anything I have that I don't want anymore because I've moved on. That's kind of how this game is. And I feel like I've pigeonholed myself.
Well, never say never. Never. No one puts the dumpster boy in a corner is, I think, the famous quote from the movie.
It's sometimes. Yes.
And so I wonder if maybe you spend an hour or two just, doing some dungeon crawling, some side questing. Don't get rid of any of the armor. Then respec and see if maybe some of this new that you got could give you a little bit more help. Because here's my thing. As an outsider, I know how much the dumpster boy loves his Diablo 4. And I just don't want the last thing I want. If I put everything I want on a piece of paper, the last thing I want is for you to have a not fun time playing Diablo 4, Cayman. So I'm just trying to, give some ideas that might give you a little spark at the gates of hell.
You know what, Patrick? If it wasn't for you, I'd probably drive off a cliff at this point in my life.
Well, I'm glad that I haven't done the same. We can keep each other on the road forward within the rails. Those rails they have on cliffs that they're like the bumpers at a bowling alley, but for humans in a car.
Guardrails.
We can call them. We can call them.
We could call them that.
Yeah, we could call
them that.
Are you still skedating around Hyrule? Skadooting around the skies and the depths of Hyrule?
So this is the problem that has occurred is now my wife is playing it.
Oh, yeah, no, you're done.
And we only have one Switch.
Yeah, you're done.
Unlike you has like 14 at this point.
16 I just got. I finally got my hands on the Splatoon 3 special edition.
Thank God. And so what ended up happening was Diablo comes out. I'm like, I'm going to play some Diablo, but I'm still playing Legend of Zelda. But what ends up happening is Sydney beats Breath of the Wild. And it's like, well, I'm going to play Zelda. Now I can't get it away from her.
Right.
So
one day you'll be back potentially.
Yeah. I mean, shit, I was 75 hours roughly into it. I had like 2 temples left. I can breathe. I can cakewalk story-wise through the rest of this game. Honestly, dude, I still, Legend of Zelda is currently, for me, front runner game of the year. There was a moment where I was like, I don't know, Diablo is the perfect Diablo game to me. And I'm not saying that my issues with the barbarian build has like ruined the fun, but it has definitely at this point. I'm like, I kind of wish that I would have done a different build because I spent so long trying to figure that out. But no, I think still at this point in time. Now, don't get me wrong. We still have, as we know, about 427 games coming out.
Correct. Which we're going to discuss here in a bit.
So I don't know if it'll remain game of the year, but it's definitely an experience that I don't think has ever happened before, ever. Yeah.
We got Liz in the chat. Hey, Liz, if you're still around with us, let us know what you're playing. Just if you're playing anything right now, what you got. Tell us all about it. But so, Cayman, let me bend your ear for a little bit.
Bend my ear.
A few games I've been playing. So I talked about on the podcast last week with Mondo that the demo of Final Fantasy 16 I enjoyed so much that I pre-ordered the full game once I completed it. I made a mistake though, in that when I was playing that game. So I was texting you and I was like, this game is great, but I'm a little bummed that I'm going to have to replay the beginning again. And you were like, oh no, it carries over the progress that you make in the demo. And I just didn't realize this. So I wasn't paying attention at all to the demo.
No.
But then I just had to go do it again. So at this point, all I've done now is play the demo and plus 10 minutes twice. So I really don't have a whole lot more to say. So next week, I think I'll have more to say on Final Fantasy 16, but I do have a couple other things that I can report on. There are these little things came in called demos, and I played the demo for a game called Lies of P.
Yeah, tell me about it, buddy.
So Lies of P, for those at home, if you've forgotten or if you've missed us talking about it, it is a game coming out in September that is a Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne-like, but it is an adaptation of Pinocchio in which you play as Pinocchio. And it is a weird fucking game. Like here's what I'll say. If you are into Souls-like games, Bloodborne-like games, you're gonna fucking love Lies of P because it is unapologetically a Souls game.
Yeah.
From the menus to the way it controls to even like when you're fighting enemies and like the feedback that you get of like the amount of damage you took, that like the bars above them, it is borderline plagiarism. And they do a good job of it. Like it really does feel like a Souls-born game.
Mm-hmm.
But therein lies my problem. I've on this show before, I've talked a zillion times about the issues I had with Elden Ring. I loved Bloodborne, I loved Demon Souls, but like I have to be in a specific mood. And so I think if I'm not in the right mood for Lies of P, I'm not going to pick it up. But I will say it is super fucking stylish. Like all of the enemies that you're fighting against are puppets, and it's like steampunky. So like they're like metallic based puppets. So instead of having blood, they have like oil, and like so it's like visually interesting compared to a lot of other games we play where there's just blood flying everywhere. It's like, so you'll just be like drenched in black because you're just completely covered in oil when you're just dismembering all of these different puppets. And like you got fucking the little cricket. Yeah, I mean it's so interesting how Pinocchio it is, while feeling in no way, shape, or form like Pinocchio.
So one of my favorite YouTubers is a guy named Iron Pineapple, and he does this video segment where he plays he does Steam dumpster diving, and he plays just like a shit ton of like Soulsborne games or Soulsborne like games. And his latest video, that's one of the ones he does, he covers the Lies of P. And one references I caught up was that apparently at some point during the demo, obviously not spoiler, this is in the demo, you can play right now. You can kill the mad donkey.
I didn't do that.
And I fucking laughed my ass off because it's like a boss you have to fight is the mad donkey. And I was like, this is like the only thing I remember from Pinocchio outside of like Geppetto and Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
I looking at it, it's one of those where like Sid asked me last night, we're watching his video, and Sid asked me, she's like, is this going to be a game you play? I'm like, well, it's going to be day one launch on Game Pass. And while that's cool, I don't know, man. Like, I platinumed Elden Ring.
Yeah. You did your due diligence for at least a couple games, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm like, I don't know, like day one on Game Pass makes it a little bit easier for me to be like, yeah, I mean, I might play it, but
yeah,
truthfully, I don't know. I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I think for me, there's like 2 or 3 things that could move the needle for me. One, if I just really hate myself in September and I just want to punish myself. 2, if the reviews come out and like something like the narrative is really surprising, or there's just something that I didn't catch in the demo that have reviewers really wanting everyone to play this game. Or 3, there is no 3, actually. It's just those 2 things I think that can happen. But I do want to mention there are a couple other things that I noticed that I think are very cool. Or there's one thing that I think is very cool. There's one thing that really annoys me. One thing that I think is very cool, it does introduce a new feature to this well-storied genre, which is the ability to, if you run out of med kits, potions, whatever you want to call them, you can like earn one back by landing your weapon on an enemy. So it's like it kind of rewards you for, if you're up against the wall, you're out of health, if you play aggressively, you'll be rewarded with a med kit that way, which like that's a cool, I feel like a good way to potentially kind of balance that punishing aspect of it. Something that really annoys me about it, and this is true of Final Fantasy 16 as well, I don't know what the fuck is up with these games not having mini maps. I want to know where I am. I want to know where I'm going. Like just throw a dog a bone, Cayman. Like let me know where I am, because then I get lost. I'm wasting my time. It's frustrating. Oh, and another thing, while I'm on this tiny little soapbox, just a couple inches off the ground.
Sure.
Cut it out with the fucking you can't pause a video game bullshit.
Oh, fucking stop that shit.
Fucking stop that shit. The only games that I think it makes sense for is like a Diablo game where it's like completely online, but just don't do that. Don't make it completely online. If I want to be able to pause the game, fucking let me pause the game.
So my question is like, the reason that they do that in the Soulsborne games is because you're essentially like it's always online because there's enemies constantly like you can be invaded, right?
Right.
And like that's a mechanic is because you can be invaded. You can at any given point, someone can just show up in your game and fuck your ass up, right?
Right.
So like, I haven't heard it. Maybe I've missed this little tidbit from the devs or whatever. But like, from my understanding, I don't know if has any sort of multiplayer component in this game.
So then
Why
why are
the
you
fuck
doing
is
it?
this? Why, unless you're just being a fucking miserable person and you're like, oh, we have to be that hardcore.
But like,
Get
yeah, it could be
fucked.
that. It could be that, but it's like there was an exploit in Elden Ring where like if you pulled up the help menu, it would actually pause the game. So I would just do that
Yeah.
because I had the online shit turned off. So like I feel like it in a game like that, if you're not connected to online, it should let you pause the game because I just think it's absurd for them to assume that there is nothing else happening in my world that I don't want to be able to pause my game. Like I don't know. It really, I'm noticing it more and more in video games, and it's really fucking annoying.
Yes.
Cayman, there's another demo I played, but we're running long on what we've been playing, and there's a lot to discuss. So I just want to put a pin in. There's this demo on the PlayStation Store right now. It might be other places, but there's this game called Viewfinder. I hadn't
Yes.
heard about it, but we saw a little bit about it during Summer Game Fest. The best I can do to describe it is it's like Portal, which I feel like is a description used a lot for this kind of game, but it is like Portal, except instead of making Portal with Portal guns, it has this really cool mechanic with pictures where at the beginning of the demo there is a Polaroid visible, and you can pick it up, and if you put it anywhere in the space and like activate
Mhm.
it, that Polaroid becomes a fully three-dimensional space within that space. It might not make sense when you just describe it, but it completely clicks when you see it in action. But it is I was completely blown away by this 45-minute demo, and it is
Mhm.
now one of my most anticipated games, and it comes out in less than a month.
So it's interesting you use Portal as your example, because from what I've seen of the game, it reminds me a lot of that indie game that came out like last year, I think, Maquette,
Mhm.
like where you can
It's a little bit
like
like that too.
resizing things to
Yep.
solve puzzles and stuff. So like maybe a mixture of both. It
I
looks
would say
really cool.
that's you're spot on. I think it's a mixture of that because you can play with aspect ratio in a way and
Mhm.
but yeah, it's so I'm so interested to see if it delivers what the demo kind of made me feel because I've not felt that kind of wonder in a puzzle game. I don't even know that I got this sense of wonder in The Witness. It's been a long
Wow.
time since I've been completely kind of blown away by a concept. So much so that I sit there and I'm playing it and I'm like, how do they do this? I don't understand how video games are made at all, but it doesn't click in my brain how this is even possible. So really excited about Viewfinder. So if you like that kind of game, check it out. I'll probably be talking about it more next month when it comes out. We got John in the chat. John, I've missed you, my friend. You're back. Also, Liz, I asked what she's playing. She said, I tried the new demo for Little Kitty Big City, and it's great.
Mm.
Basically Stray, but 10 times more adorable. I've seen trailers for this, and it looks amazing. So glad to hear that you are enjoying it. John says he's here to sniff butts and play games, and he's all out of games. Well, I guess you're going to be sniffing some butts, brother.
Brother.